You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And don't forget, we are on all podcast platforms, including Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcast. Just search The Brian Craig Show. If there's a podcast platform, we are on it, including Audible. All right, so check us out. And, of course, on YouTube, Brian Craig on YouTube. Okay, so let me read this story from Fox. It's about Biden. Biden, on Thursday night, is making a primetime address to the nation. And we're going to talk about what this is about. But the way that it used to work in the past, primetime addresses to the nation are in times of military action, like there's a major military move that you don't know about that's going to happen, like when Bush, the ground operations began in Afghanistan, right, after 9/11, when Ronald Reagan bombed Libya after the terrorist attacks that they were responsible for, when the Challenger exploded, a tragedy, a military action. Biden is addressing the nation from Philadelphia on Thursday night, primetime address, to warn America about MAGA Republicans. And I'm not kidding. Let me read this story from Fox News' website, and we'll talk about this. This is the headline. Biden going primetime to spotlight fight to protect democracy following jabs at MAGA Republicans. Biden to warn America's freedoms remain under attack in primetime address on Thursday. All right, that's just the headline, and we got to stop and talk about this. Okay. The reason that they think that we're MAGA Republicans. I'm a MAGA Republican. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Remember there were Reagan Republicans and all of this. We are Donald Trump MAGA Republicans, and there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means you're a very good person, because I think we're good people. But what this is about is something that's been a constant theme since Trump came down the escalator. This has been actually going on, and it's been getting more and more active for over a decade now, and the political establishment of both parties cannot get used to it. They're dealing with, for the very first time ever in the history of this country, Republicans, since there have been Republicans, are activist. We are now activist. And, I talked about how this happened. When Obama started the push for Obamacare, he announced Obamacare. They thought it was going to be very popular, and the nation just had a meltdown over it for good reason, including Democrats. And this was 2010, and Obama still had his presidential campaign from his first election intact. He's the only president ever that kept his campaign operation active after he won the presidency. And the reason he did that is because he wanted to be able to deploy them as an activist unit, and he did. So someone in Obama's orbit came up with the idea, well, he's so popular, we're going to set up town hall meetings, and we're going to have members of Congress have town hall meetings in their districts, and they're going to talk to their constituents, and it's going to be a big deal, and everyone's going to be on board with this. Well, this is when Facebook groups were new, and the Tea Party formed completely on its own. I know the guy from CNBC started using the term Tea Party, but the Tea Party patriots started organizing through Facebook to go to these town hall meetings and around the country. And it got so bad for the Democrats trying to push Obamacare, some of them didn't show up to their town hall meetings. There were Democrat members of Congress, including right here in Florida, who had town hall meetings, and they did it over a speakerphone. They were like Charlie on Charlie's Angels. They would have a speakerphone on a table talking to the people in a room over the speakerphone, and it was a disaster. And that's when the first time conservatives started organizing as activists. And now here we are today, 50,000 plus at every Trump rally, even when there's no notice of a Trump rally. The events I was at a couple weeks ago at Mar-a-Lago after the break-in, these are things that were activists, and it scares them because conservatives were never activists before. And the reason that conservatives were never activists is because we didn't have time to be activists. It used to be before the internet and social media, to be an activist, you had to be a member of some activist group in your local town, and you had to go to meetings. And you'd go to meetings once a month or every couple of months, and then they would give you your marching orders. Okay, next Thursday, we're going to show up here with our signs and yell a bunch of nonsense. And Democrats used to do that. Animal rights activists, abortion activists, gay activists, all these activists.
They still do.
Yeah, and conservatives didn't do that because conservatives have jobs and family, right? And they don't have time to go to activist meetings once a month or every 2 months. But with social media, conservatives for the first time could organize in groups, and now we're even more and more organized than ever before. You get a notification from a friend of yours, tags you on Truth or Gab or Twitter or whatever, your Facebook, whatever, and you're there. You're there. And that's the way it is. And the threat that they're talking about is they haven't been able to accept that conservatives can be a vocal activists too. Don't let them think they're talking about January 6th. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about when you get together with your friends and you go to a street corner and you've got your MAGA gear on and you're saying you love Trump. That's the threat they're talking about. So let me go through this story, and I hope it doesn't take that long to get through every paragraph. I just read the headline there. Okay, but anyway, this is Fox News' website. The White House says Biden will head to Philadelphia Thursday for a primetime address where he will argue that America's democracy remains under attack and highlight who is fighting to protect the nation's freedom. It's under attack because Trump won over 200 primaries. They consider that under attack. We're winning. MAGA winning is a threat to democracy. Democracy is safe when you bend a knee and you vote for whoever the Republican establishment tells you to vote for, like John McCain or Bob Dole or some other loser. Then democracy is safe. The speech in the crucial general election battleground state of Pennsylvania comes less than 10 weeks ahead of November's midterms. This is an interesting thing that he's doing this in Pennsylvania because Trump has his rally Saturday night in Pennsylvania. And this tells us that they're afraid that they're going to lose, the Democrats are going to lose the governor's race, and they expect Dr. Oz to win against this Shrek communist Fetterman that they have. Okay. Let's see here. The battle state of Pennsylvania comes less than 10 weeks ahead of November's midterm elections, when the Democrats hope to hold onto their razor-thin majorities in the House and Senate. The address also comes as Biden has raised his rhetoric in recent days, targeting what he argues are anti-democratic MAGA Republicans who have embraced semi-fascism. Okay, semi-fascism. There is no such thing. You're either a fascist or you're not. There's no, remember Andrew Dice Clay had that great joke about bisexual? You either blank blank or you blank blank. There's no bisexual. I could say it. It's the internet, but I'm not going to say it. But he said you're either gay or not. There's no bisexual. And I subscribe to that theory. I think that's pretty reasonable. If you're bisexual, you're gay, right? You're gay. And there's no such thing as a semi-fascist. It's just like this democratic socialist nonsense. You're either a socialist or not. There's no such thing as a democratic socialist. So anyway, embrace semi-fascism, which I don't understand what they think is so fascist about Trump. The president will speak at Philadelphia's Independence National Historical Park, where the Declaration of Independence and the nation's Constitution were debated and signed. He will speak about how the core values of this nation, our standing in the world, our democracy, are at stake unless you support people who break into the homes of presidents they don't like, and then democracy is not at stake. A White House official confirmed to Fox News Biden will talk about the progress we have made as a nation to protect our democracy, but how our rights and freedoms are still under attack. Notice how far down I am in this article, and they haven't given an example of our rights and freedoms specifically being under attack. What rights, what freedoms, and how? The White House official added that the president will make clear who was fighting for those rights, fighting for those freedoms, and fighting for our democracy, even though they don't tell you what any of the rights and freedoms that we're losing or a threat. Last week, in comments that received plenty of pushback from Republicans, Biden blasted a GOP that is still very much under the firm grip of President Trump. What we're seeing now is either the beginning or the death knell of an extreme MAGA philosophy, Biden told Democratic donors at a gathering in Maryland. It's not just Trump, he went on. It's the entire philosophy that underpins I'm going to say something, it's like semi-fascism. And I just don't understand what that means. And he went on to say, MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights. I guess that means abortion. Biden can't get an abortion now. MAGA Republicans don't just threaten our personal rights and economic security. They're a threat to our very democracy, Biden said. And it goes on. Thursday's address, one of only a few Biden has given in primetime, is being billed as a political speech. And it goes on and on and on. I'm not going to read through the rest of it. But, listen, I think MAGA Republican is something we should embrace, like basket of deplorables. What are some of the other things they've called this, Kathy? Basket of deplorables.
Basket of deplorables.
That's the big one. That's Hillary's.
Yeah.
They call us a lot of things, okay? But I don't think we should be shying away from being a MAGA Republican. I kind of like that.
We should make T-shirts that say semi-fascist.
Ultra MAGA. Ultra
Semi
MAGA.
means half, so we're half fascist. I don't know which half of it is. But I think
we're the half that's not fascist.
I think this is all about the elections. And they're very terrified
they're going to lose everything.
Of what's going to happen in November. And I think there's been a shift in the last few weeks. It started with Charlie Crist. He kind of opened that doorway, him and Catherine Hull, of we don't want you and I don't want your vote and this and that. I think, and this is what somebody said on the news, they consulted with a PR firm and probably paid them millions of dollars. And one of the guests on Outnumbered, she's written a bunch of books. I can't remember, but she's really good. Molly Hannigan, I think. Mm-hmm. And she said they consulted a PR firm, or Molly, what's her name?
I don't know her last name.
What's her name? Molly
Helen somethingberg.
Some with an H.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's written some books. She's really good. She said that and it probably cost millions of dollars, and this is the strategy they've come up with.
Oh, a marketing
marketing
slogan?
Strategy, because across the board, this is all you're hearing now. And they're terrified of what's coming in November. They had one win in New York, so that's reignited them. And ever since that win, this has been happening. Ever since that win, and now they're going with the tack of we're going to really go full throttle with impugning MAGA, labeling this. They're really big into labels, and they're really big into shaming their political opponents into silence. And this is what they're doing, and this is all we're going to be hearing for the next 2 months. And Biden is sort of doing this thing, which I think is absolutely disgusting, Thursday night. And you're right, those kind of events are meant for emergencies like COVID or something like catastrophic that the whole nation needs to pay attention to. And the fact that he has been given prime time to attack his political opponents.
Well, we don't know that they're going to carry it.
Is absolutely a disgrace. Well, they should not.
And I'm wondering because I noticed I don't think the new season of network television has begun yet because I haven't seen a bunch of commercials for the new season of any television shows.
We really don't pay attention.
So I don't follow that too much, but it may not be like if very soon because the kids are back in school. The networks will start their new primetime seasons. Yeah. Okay. So maybe they don't have anything better to run. But this thing about MAGA Republicans, it sounds like that. It sounds like they hired some marketing firm. And this is what the inside Washington people, this is how they describe us. Oh, these MAGA Republicans, like it's a bad thing.
We're half fascist.
Semi-fascist.
Whatever that means.
Semi-fascist.
I don't know what it means to be a half of a fascist.
If we are half fascist, I'm telling you, we are the half that is not fascist. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they don't want to flat out come out and call us. I think they wanted to come out and call us fascists, which they've done here and there, peppered around. And I think they met with a PR firm or a marketing firm, and they said, well, that might be a little too harsh to call them straight out fascist.
Semi.
So let's say semi-fascist, meaning not fully there, kind of halfway there, and let's go with that. And now that's all you're going to be hearing now is semi-fascist. This is a new term.
It's an interesting thing. And if you think about in the past when there have been campaigns running against different people, I've never heard the voters attacked by a president or a presidential candidate. I've always heard candidates attacked.
Hillary did it.
And other people. Well, she was the first.
Right, yeah.
Okay, when she talked about the deplorables.
Right. That didn't work out well for her.
Before the Trump movement began, voters personally were really not attacked. Now, obviously, every once in a while, you have a group of thugs like Antifa.
Right.
And people will say, hey, Antifa, they're burning down places, or Black Lives Matter when they've looted and things. But I've never seen a president or a group. Even if you remember in Charlottesville, President Trump said there were some very good people there on both sides. And I'm not talking about the white supremacists, but, he was talking about the Black Lives Matter and Democrats who came to Charlottesville is who he was talking about. There were good people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the white supremacists. They should be condemned. He said, remember, they always leave that part out. So this is very unique. And it's a very dangerous time in this country because they are declaring about one half of the voting population, because not everybody votes, they are declaring one half of the voting population of this country, just broad brush, you are fascist.
Semi-fascist.
You are a danger to democracy.
Right.
You are threatening our rights and freedoms. And, the Lincoln Project has a new ad running. I can't play it here on the podcast because it's a visual ad. There's some talking in it, but it doesn't make sense unless you're looking at it. And they're attacking not just President Trump in it, but they're attacking Ron DeSantis. And this. And if you've noticed, there's a change happening with
what's their beef with Ron DeSantis?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Their beef with DeSantis is easy. He's a winner and he's very popular. And if you notice this new Lincoln Project commercial, you'll see it on television. You'll see it on your Twitter feed. You'll see it on Truth because everyone will be talking about it. If not by tonight, by tomorrow. I just got a sneak peek. But there's this move. It shows a big change because this is the Lincoln Project, right? They've been trying to con us into dropping Trump and embracing Ron DeSantis. So everybody that loves Trump loves Ron DeSantis. He's our governor. Kathy and I are in Florida. But we're not going to drop Trump for DeSantis. And they finally have realized, obviously, that's not going to happen. And I told you guys, they don't say anything negative about Ron DeSantis because they want us to run to Ron DeSantis and abandon Trump. And
right.
and the minute he becomes the nominee, they would start tearing him down like no one's business.
But now that they see that's not happening, now they're going after him.
That's right. They're starting to go after him. And the reason they're going after Ron DeSantis is because they saw him go out to Arizona and campaign for Kerry Lake.
Yeah.
And they see that he's traveling around the country now campaigning for other people like Trump. And Ron DeSantis just had a major success in Florida, flipping about half a dozen Democrat school boards that were woke Republicans.
This is
MAGA.
all about fear. And it's like they're like a wild animal backed into a corner. And that they're terrified of losing because they are losing so much. And they're losing control. And they're losing their power in Washington. And the people are waking up. I feel that the whole MAGA movement really woke people up because certain corrupt factions and certain politicians and people could not control what they said and did because of Trump, their Trump derangement syndrome. And it really exposed who they truly are, that they were able to keep hidden for so long. And I think that the people have woken up to this. And that's why another reason why they're getting so more politically active and getting involved in things, because like parents and things, like they have this Moms of Liberty group, which they hate. And it's a group that in Florida that started to take on the schools and what's going on in the schools. And they're trying to stop them. You're right. They don't like us being active. They don't like us getting involved. They want us to just sit down and shut up.
That's right.
And just do what they say and be good little boys and girls.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And they don't like it when we get involved and actually speak up for ourselves. We have just as much a right to speak up for what we want as they do.
That's right.
We're all Americans, and that is our right as American citizens. And I think it's an absolute disgrace for Biden as president to malign half the country, probably more than half, because they don't agree with his politics.
No, I would agree with that.
It's really disgusting.
Now, I want to tell you about Mike Lindell's new My Coffee. And now listen, the My Coffee, there's a big announcement about the My Coffee that I'm going to tell you about right now. My Coffee is available at mystore.com, not mypillow.com, at mystore.com. And when you go to mystore.com, there's a lot of products there. Whatever you see at mystore.com, you can take advantage of the deal with our promo code Kane at checkout, the same as we use for the pillow site. But this is at mystore.com. Our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. You can take advantage of every special at mystore.com. But I want to talk about Mike Lindell's My Coffee. And Mike Lindell says it's the best coffee ever. And we're going to order some here today. With our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, save 25% off of Mike Lindell's My Coffee. All right. But you got to use our promo code at checkout at mystore.com. That's Kane. And listen to this. Now, you can get the Mike Lindell My Coffee in light roast, medium roast, dark roast, or even decaf. You can get it ground or in whole bean. And I like medium roast. Some like light roast. The darker the coffee, the less caffeine it has in it.
So I thought you liked the light roast.
I like the medium roast.
Okay.
The medium roast. The light roast is a little too light. I like medium roast, but the darker the roast, the less caffeine it has in it.
Yeah,
But
that's kind of funny.
I like the taste of the medium roast the best. But there's a new addition. Not only can you get the Mike Lindell My Coffee in whole bean or ground, brand new, now they have the coffee pods, PODS.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's what I've been waiting
Yeah.
for because we don't have a traditional coffee maker where you put the ground. We have the pods,
Yeah, Keurig.
the Keurig.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to order it today.
So, yeah, and
They have
it's
decaf too.
there's also decaf. You can
Great.
get decaf if you want, but the coffee pods are now available, and it's 25% off when you use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And there's also a monthly subscription offer, and there's a benefit to this. And this is for all the different coffees. If you do the monthly subscription, you save an additional 10% off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like 35% off if you use the monthly subscription with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane, at mystore.com, not mypillow.com, mystore.com. And so I think we got to order these coffee pods today.
Definitely.
All right. So we'll
take care
save.
of that.
We'll use our promo code Kane
Yeah.
at checkout, Kane, and
He's
we will
always
save.
adding new things. It's really amazing. He's always adding new stuff to his stores.
Oh, absolutely. They're absolutely amazing. I've heard nothing but great things.
And everything
about the
he
coffee.
adds is good. It's like all really high quality and stuff people like.
Now, you can use our promo code for any of the items at mystore.com as well, but this is brand new. The coffee pods are brand new. All right, listen, we'll take our break. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy.
Are you living with menopause? You're not alone. How would you like to get rid of those hot flashes, night sweats, those hormone-driven roller coasters you're on, and that stubborn hormonal belly fat? You can do all that and more. From author Brenda Nabelli comes the book Menopausally Magnificent, available on Amazon. This must-read and life-changing book is your guidebook filled with easy-to-apply natural remedies to the common symptoms of menopause in 4 weeks or less. What are you waiting for? Say goodbye to the signs and symptoms of menopause naturally. Order your copy of Menopausally Magnificent from author Brenda Nabelli on Amazon. Available in Kindle and paperback. Thinking of buying a new mattress? Don't! Go right now to MyPillow.com and order your 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper for 50% off. But you've got to use the promo code Kane, K-A-N-E, at checkout at MyPillow.com. This is the lowest price ever. It comes in all mattress sizes, from twin all the way up to California King, and every size in between. Go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Kane, K-A-N-E, at checkout. Have you tried to achieve your financial goals, but haven't quite gotten there? Don't worry, you're not alone. You just need the right motivation. And that's what you will find on the podcast, Investing Uncensored, with host Andre Stewart. Investing Uncensored brings listeners a candid and unfiltered glimpse into the real life of professionals from all industries, from pro athletes, tech founders, real estate moguls, and entertainers, who give tips on how they became financially independent or wealthy by investing. Whether it was mentally, physically, or monetarily, they invested to get where they are today, and share with Andre Stewart what started them on their journey to becoming an entrepreneur or choosing a particular career path as their main source of income. Andre Stewart is an experienced and successful investment banker who has advised venture capital firms and some of the largest tech startups in the world, and he shares his experience and expertise with his listeners. Add Investing Uncensored with host Andre Stewart to your podcast playlist, available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and where you get your podcasts.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Yesterday we were talking about Ben Shapiro was just saying terrible things about our President Trump. And here's Ann Coulter again. And, Ann Coulter, I used to really love Ann Coulter. We had her, she was a guest on this podcast multiple times. I've interviewed her on the radio. Steve Kane and I were friends with her boyfriend, who stopped being friends with us because we supported Trump in the first campaign. Yep. And Ann Coulter and him were into Ted Cruz. And
you were very good friends with him.
Steve and Ann Coulter, let me tell you, Ann Coulter's boyfriend came to Steve's house and played basketball in the driveway with Steve's son. That's how close we were. And then Trump came down the escalator and they dropped us like you wouldn't believe. That's how I got Ann Coulter on the radio and here on the podcast through that connection. And I was in shock. And we were very good friends. And he was just about, before Trump came down the escalator, I was going to go to a private thing to meet Ann Coulter for the first time. I was very excited. I used to love Ann Coulter. She was on TV all the time, kicking all this liberal butt. And then she just is like, she's like a obsessed never Trumper.
Well, she's all in with George Conway.
Yeah, she's the Lincoln Project person.
But I don't understand it because Trump is her big issue was the border, and he's the first president that actually did something about it.
Well, that's the problem. He did something about it.
And she defended him at the beginning. I remember she was on Bill Maher, and she said Trump was going to win, and everybody was like Joy Reid. They were shocked. She said Trump's going to win. And she was briefly on his side and agreed with him on the border. But then George Conway got in her head and quickly told her, if you back this guy, you're going to
something happened.
You're going to be out in D.C.
And Ann Coulter used to be on.
But you never hear from her anymore, do you? Rarely.
Well, you're going to hear about her in a minute.
But you used to see her on TV all the time. All the time.
She was on TV on all the shows all the time, and her never Trumperism really destroyed her.
It did. If she would have embraced Trump and ignored George Conway, she could have written books. She could have blown up.
No one buys her books anymore. No one talks about Ann Coulter.
She's irrelevant.
No. And so listen, this is an article in Mediaite. Listen to this. Stop sucking up to Donald Trump. This was the core message of what Ann Coulter told Republicans on her Unsafe podcast this week. See, this is the thing. I did not even know Ann Coulter had a podcast until just now.
I didn't either.
I knew she said this because I saw the story, and I just thought it was a column or an interview she gave. I did not even know she had a podcast. No. Coulter titled the episode, "Trump's Done," echoing a statement she made in a column in January. However, the conservative author has no doubt his influence on the Republican Party is quickly dwindling. He just won over 200 primaries.
This is the new storyline. They're saying they just said this. They just said this on another show and on Drudge and on Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
They're all on the same page now. And I'm telling you, they got that win in New York, and that is when everything shifted.
One win
in a blue state.
And it's only going to be in there a couple months. He's got to run again in November.
Everything shifted with that win. It's like somebody breathed life into the Democratic Party, and they feel now like they're on top of the world, and they're going with it.
That's right.
Oh, well, we're winning now.
Coulter compared, this is in Mediaite, okay, which is a liberal thing, okay, but it's still, she said it on her podcast. Coulter compared Donald Trump's rise in the world of politics to that of Sarah Palin, who saw her star fade significantly after John McCain's unsuccessful 2008 presidential campaign. That's not true. What did her in is when she resigned as governor.
Yeah, I don't know why she did that.
Yeah. Coulter cited poll numbers, a Roger Stone backpedal email, and dwindling rally crowds as some of the proof Trump has become irrelevant to most Republicans. What does she mean, dwindling rally crowds?
I don't know.
Every rally I've seen is a full house.
Yeah.
What is she talking about?
I don't know.
She goes on. They're like deadheads, Ann Coulter said, of those still running to MAGA rallies.
Now we're deadheads.
Or deadheads.
We're deplorables, semi-fascists, and deadheads.
That's right. They're following him from place to place. He sings the same songs. Loyalty among Trump fanatics, she added, is not indicative of a movement sweeping the nation. Ann Coulter mentioned a pair of Roger Stone emails she received from the Trump team. The first was an email slamming Ron DeSantis, A second, Coulter said, was Stone backpedaling on his criticism of DeSantis.
Why is she getting emails from Trump's
She's
team?
She's on a email list like anybody else gets. It's not like she's getting private emails.
Well, they need to take her off.
Yeah, I would say so. This suggests to me, Coulter says, Trump is not a huge hit, not the hit that he once was. Coulter cited recent poll numbers showing Trump with an average of more than 50% having an unfavorable view of him as proof voters are tired of Trump. She accused Trump of making last-minute endorsements for candidates who are likely to win anyway. Really? No, see, it's like a rally. Donald Trump will say on Thursday, I'm having a rally in Birmingham tomorrow, and it's 50,000 people there. So he comes in at the last minute sometimes with endorsements, and people are like, well, I better go vote. President Trump told me to, and we do it.
And she's wrong about that because a lot of the people are people you've never heard of. They came out of nowhere, and they end up winning. It's not people that were winning in the first place. I think that happened once or twice.
Yeah.
But Mike Pence did that. Mike Pence came out, remember, and endorsed that one guy a week before because he was way ahead in the polls.
Yeah. Now listen to this. Ann Coulter encouraged those who may have left the Republican Party over Trump to come back. Republicans, it's not the party of Trump. It's safe to come back, she said on her podcast. It's safe for Republicans to stand up and run without Donald Trump, Ann Coulter said. The conservative pundit predicted Republicans could enjoy healthy wins in the midterms if right-wing commentators stop focusing on Trump loyalists.
They can't help themselves.
See, this, the reason I'm sharing this is a beautiful article about what she said on her podcast because you get to you could hear, even though you're not listening to her words, you're just hearing me read a transcript in this article of her words from her podcast, which I will not be subscribing to. You could hear not just the anger that Ann Coulter has because these Republican establishment people have lost control of the party towards Donald Trump. You can hear how out of touch with reality they are. We already know that Democrats are wackadoodle and people in the media are lowlives. But Ann Coulter used to be a big deal among us conservatives, and she's always been thought of as prior to her never Trumperism, Ann Coulter was thought of as a very brilliant conservative intellectual thinker. And you hear this is how hate clouds the judgment of people, and they say things. She says people are angry. Republicans are angry. We're on a smooth guide path to really, really good midterm elections, and the only thing that can blow it is Trump.
She is totally out of touch with the voter.
You don't need to suck up to Trump anymore, She's says.
Totally out of touch.
He's done and he's over.
Whatever.
So this is the thing that you pick up in this article.
I think she's trying to get Trump to talk about her.
Oh, to be relevant again?
I think she's really irrelevant and in the abyss. Nobody talks about Ann Coulter anymore. Nobody cares what she, except us, I guess. But Mediaite too. But I feel she is trying to trigger a reaction out of Trump to say something about her.
And make her relevant again.
Make her relevant, get her back on the talk shows. That's what a lot of people do. They write a book, they write an article, they do their round of talk shows, and the next thing you know, they're a guest on a show, and then they're a contributor. She's trying to resurrect her career.
Good luck.
And she's going about it the wrong way. She's very out of touch with the American voter. Well, all these people in D.C. are. They never leave that world.
Yeah.
And maybe her Republicans in her circle don't like Trump. Well, that's not a shock. She hangs out with George Conway.
Yeah.
So, of course, they don't like him. We all know this. But when was the last time has she ever been to a rally? Has she seen the crowds? Has she talked to anybody? No.
Well,
she lives in her little D.C. bubble.
Yeah, well, I think what Kathy said is right. It's a desperate attempt to be relevant again.
No, because she's attacking him directly.
And, the funny way that she talks, this explains the whole thing. She's a snob.
Oh, totally.
And
they all are.
Like Ben Shapiro.
They all are.
And what I was telling you guys on yesterday's show, Ben Shapiro and Ann Coulter, these Lincoln Project Republicans, they like the Republican Party to be an exclusive country club where all of us that go to Trump rallies and MAGA events, we're just white trash to them.
Well, Kellyanne Conway was on TV the other day, and she said the people in D.C. have complete disdain for the American people. She said they don't like you. They don't want you to have a voice. They hate you. They think you're white trash. They think you're scum. This isn't just the MAGA semi-fascist deplorables. The Democrats think this about their people too. They just, look at the Fetterman guy. He doesn't think black people can get IDs. This is how they think about you guys. They think we are stupid scum and that we are just to be shuffled along and told what to do and what to say. They forget that this is our country, that we elected these idiots to be in office. And Trump is replacing a lot of these people with people that think like us and that actually represent us, and that's scaring the hell out of them.
Well, yeah, and this thing with Ann Coulter, this goes back to a couple months back. I saw on CNN the DC cop from January 6th that's got the neck tattoo. I don't know his name. The guy, he's got the blackout tattoo covering up something he doesn't want people to see. I don't know, swastika. I don't know. People that get blackout tattoos are covering up something really bad. Especially when it's that
Stallone
big on your
got
neck.
A dog to cover up his wife's face.
Yeah, well, this guy's
He's a little more clever.
His blackout tattoo is his entire neck.
How big would you say in diameter across?
I don't know. When did
a good 6-7 inches?
When did they start letting police officers have neck tattoos that are blacked out like that?
I guess. Well, he's all buddy with Pelosi.
But he was on the blacked out tattoo DC cop from January 6th. He was on CNN and he had like this meltdown, and he's like, "I don't get it. Outside of the Beltway, they love this guy. I don't understand."
Well, at least he's the one person that sees that. They won't even admit that.
Exactly.
At least he sees that we do love him, so he's not completely out of touch. But these other people, they won't even admit that.
Well, what happened with Washington, it used to be the members of Congress were picked by the state legislators, okay? The state legislature would pick the members of Congress. We didn't have like the direct votes like we do now.
When did that change?
A long time ago. But when that changed is when Washington became the epicenter, because these Congress people, when the state legislators picked them, the power was in the state capitals. And when it reversed to that, that's when the lobbyists started camping out, and these people moved to Washington for 50 years, right? They get elected at 25 and they're there for 50,
the
60
term
years.
Limits are a big problem.
And that's the way it is, and we've lost it. And I tell you guys, the best way to understand, you heard of red pilling, which is a Matrix reference. The Matrix is a conservative movie about Republicans, really. But the other movie that film series people don't realize is The Hunger Games. And I use this analogy because I think it makes sense to people. If you remember I love The Hunger Games, by the way. I love those movies, and they're doing some prequels. I like The Hunger Games. But remember, in The Hunger Games took place in the United States of the future, and they had all the different districts, right? And they were all run by the faraway capital. And the capital was out of touch. Everyone had so much food, they would eat and make themselves vomit so they could eat again. Remember that when they first went to and the capital was out of touch with the rest of the country, and the whole country was just to serve the fat cats in the capital. That was the Hunger Games. And I think the Hunger Games is a statement on the United States. I think it's a
swamp.
It's a very sophisticated book series. I don't think the filmmakers in Hollywood realize what they did, but the Hunger Games is a conservative, very sophisticated political book. People just don't realize that about our current state of politics in this country, where the capital in the Hunger Games, it was in Colorado, I believe. It might have been Boulder, if I can't remember correctly, but I didn't read the books. I've only seen the movies. But it wasn't in D.C. But D.C. believes that all of us around the country are in different districts, and we are to serve them. And Joe Biden is, Donald Sutherland. You know, that's the way it is.
President Snow.
That's right, President Snow. All right, listen, we're going to take our last break. When we come back, there's a lot more to talk about. I'm going to get to some of our audio sound bites when we get back too. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be right back after this.
You're in business and you have a website, but if you need a website platform that grows with your business and want to break free from the do-it-yourself website building sites, it's time to check out SpiderSavvy.com. SpiderSavvy.com build autonomous websites for professionals. They provide the essentials to establish and grow your online presence. SpiderSavvy.com can help with web design and development, SEO, WordPress hosting, content development, and that's just the beginning. SpiderSavvy.com has been helping their very satisfied customers since 2005, and now they want to help you and your business. Contact them right now. Visit SpiderSavvy.com. That's SpiderSavvy.com. Building the web. All of us are looking for ways to make our kitchen space more efficient, as well as aesthetically pleasing. If you're wanting to find a great way to display all the fruit or veggies you love to eat, check out the Zarami Fruit Hammock for the kitchen on Amazon. It's made out of cotton with wood sticks. It's a great way to store and display colorful and delicious produce in your kitchen. It fits perfectly under the kitchen cabinet, and it comes with 4 hooks. It's very easy to install and ready to hang in just seconds. This basket can hold lots of food and looks great no matter what your style. Order yours today on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and search Zarami Fruit Hammock. That's Zarami, Zarami Fruit Hammock on Amazon. From author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter comes a book the entire family will enjoy, Sunshine the Fearless Dog, available on Amazon. Help a little dog teach her best friend how to love herself. Sunshine is a tiny little dog with a big personality. She doesn't let her size stop her from being true to herself. Now, she must use all of her puppy love and self-esteem to help her human sister realize her own worth. Can you help Sunshine teach her sister to embrace who she is? Find out when you read Sunshine the Fearless Dog. You'll learn to love yourself along the way, too. It's always important for kids to love themselves for who they are. Sunshine the Fearless Dog is a children's book that teaches kids the importance of loving yourself. This book is perfect for parents, grandparents, and teachers for classroom reading. Sunshine the Fearless Dog from author Lorraine Kaplan Arbetter is available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. And I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. You know, the Patreon supporters out there make this show possible. You are the sponsors of this program, and your help means a lot. And, you know, our top Patreon supporters, I've added something new this week to our top Patreon supporters benefits that you get, you know, a little perk that you get for being a top Patreon supporter. You know, top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on every episode, and also have their names listed in the description of all the podcast episodes. And what I started doing this week is our top Patreon supporters' first names, just like in the podcast episodes, are now listed in all of my YouTube videos, okay? So my vlogs, my live streams in the morning on the radio are top Patreon supporters. You have your names listed in the description of everything that I do, not just the podcast, but all the YouTube videos as well. And all Patreon supporters get commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description of this and every episode. So I want to give the thank you, though, the on-air thank you to our top Patreon supporters right now. The names you will hear, these are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, and LePaul. These are our top Patreon supporters, and you can read their names in the description of the episode.
You're right. They're
and all the
like
YouTube videos
sponsors
too.
Of your YouTube channel.
That's correct. You are. Yeah. All right, I'm going to get to some audio sound bites. And this one here, President Trump, he has a legal team, and he has a legal team that has very attractive women in it. And they're not the only members of his legal team, but he's hired President Trump understands how to use media like no one else, and he has hired some very good attorneys who also are beautiful women who are the television messaging part of of his legal team. He has attorneys that are men and not as good looking, and they just don't go on TV. And one of them is Christina Bobb, and the leftist found out the other day that she was a reporter for One American News, and they just think that this is a joke, that One American News is comical. And One American News did a little piece that I'm going to play for you, and it starts with a clip of Anderson Cooper making fun of Christina Bobb because she's one of Trump's lawyers, and she worked at One American News. Like, that's like OAN, some clown show to him.
Well, you know, we all can't be Vanderbilts.
Exactly.
You know, it's really ironic because when you read the history of the Vanderbilt family, his ancestors were considered new money. Cornelius was the the big guy that started in shipping. Because I saw a whole documentary on this. His great-great-great-grandfather Cornelius was poor and then started shipping, became like the wealthiest guy, one of the wealthiest guys, and then the Biltmore and all that. They were ostracized from society because they were considered new money. The old money were people connected to the Pilgrims and the original settlers. New money, and like the Dutch, new money were like these new families that came around in the Golden Age or whatever. And they were ostracized by society for not being good enough and had to deal with that. And now he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, and Anderson Cooper, who's never worked or earned anything in his life, it was all handed to him because Gloria Vanderbilt is his mother.
Absolutely.
So this audio I want to play here is a piece that One American News produced and put on television. And it starts with Anderson Cooper making fun of Christina Bobb. And then One American News goes through her resume and her accomplishments compared to those of Anderson Cooper. Yeah. Okay? And I thought it was pretty good. Listen to this. It's pretty funny.
So wait a minute. I should have known this, but one of his attorneys, the one who's been on TV a lot, she comes from OAN. That's where he found her?
That's right. Yeah. She is one of several people who used to work at OAN who now works for Donald Trump.
Okay, Cooper, let's do a quick comparison, shall we? Christina Bobb, bachelor's in English linguistics. Anderson Cooper, bachelor's in political science. Bobb, advanced degrees, master's in national security law, master's in business administration, and a law degree. Wow. Bobb also served as a law clerk at the White House counsel's office. Cooper, no advanced degree. Bobb, military service. Captain, U.S. Marine Corps with a tour in Helmand Province, Afghanistan, and assignments as both a prosecutor and defense counsel at Quantico, Virginia, Stuttgart, Germany, as well as additional duties in Africa. Cooper, no military service. Bobb also served as an attorney at Customs and Border Protection, in addition to her tenure as the executive secretary for the Homeland Security Department, running the office that ran the department. Cooper, no civilian government service. While we're at it, Bobb holds the highest security clearance issued by the United States government. Top secret, cleared for sensitive compartmented information. Anderson Cooper, not a chance.
And he left out one thing, and she's hot and good looking. He left that.
I think that's what's really bothering Anderson Cooper.
Because men that watch TV desire her and not him.
Exactly. I think that's, let's get to the heart of it. He's jealous.
He's jealous. It's like a little cat fight. But this
is a guy
amazing.
Who lost to Cheech Marin on Jeopardy.
Anderson Cooper.
Okay, so that clearly, and his excuse was that the buzzer wasn't working.
Yeah, that was.
So clearly, this is a guy with insecurity problems.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, isn't it? I mean, he
sounds ridiculous.
And just like a little more detail about what Kathy said. You can go and look this up on YouTube. It was hilarious. They had Celebrity Jeopardy week. Anderson Cooper was creamed by Cheech Marin.
Destroyed.
And he was so embarrassed by this. He had Cheech Marin on his show on CNN and interviewed him, and he went through this explanation that Cheech used he didn't use his thumb for the buzzer and used his index finger for the buzzer. This is what Anderson Cooper said. Cheech used his index finger, and brain waves travel faster to the index finger than they do to the thumb.
Gosh.
I'm not kidding. Anderson Cooper did that.
And what did Cheech Marin say?
He's a nice guy.
He should have said, maybe I'm just smarter and quicker than you.
He's like, I'm an actor. I'm not really some stoner, okay? I'm an actor.
No, he's obviously more intelligent. I was
guy.
Really impressed by him. He's actually more intelligent than people give him credit.
I wish they would remake I Was Born in East LA.
Anderson Cooper is not nearly as intelligent as people give him credit.
Oh, no. No, he's not. He's not. I love that. And he was just...
Well, he's probably the kind of guy who never had to study, never had to work for anything, like you said. He was given all his degrees, and he's empty upstairs.
So let's go from the brilliant Christina Bobb to the not-so-brilliant Jean-Pierre, okay? This is brilliant. Jean-Pierre, she's talking about the MAGA threat.
Oh,
the threat
she's
to MAGA.
Pretty dumb.
Yeah, listen, this is Jean-Pierre. By the way, if you didn't know this, she is the first black, gay, immigrant White House press secretary. Like, that means something.
She reminds you all the time.
Yeah, and she's also the worst press secretary I've ever heard.
That too.
Ever heard. Here she is talking about the great MAGA threat.
The president has been really clear that congressional Republicans, that extreme MAGA agenda that you heard him talk about last week is a threat to the rule of law.
Yeah, we're the threat.
Unbelievable.
They're breaking into presidents' homes.
Exactly.
But we're the threat.
I don't understand where they're going with this. All I can say is this is an act of desperation. And like I said yesterday, it's that they've given up. They've given up trying to sell people on their ideas and their policies. So this is what they're doing because people across the country are fleeing the Democratic Party. They're fleeing California. They're fleeing New York. And they've spoken, and November is going to be a big bloodbath for these Democrats.
That's right.
They're going to lose big time.
That's right.
And they're panicked. And this is what they do when they're backed into a corner. They start calling names. They start, when Hillary said deplorables, that was a moment of panic for her and weakness because she had nothing else to go with. So she starts insulting the voters like that's going to help. That never works well for anybody whenever you insult the voters.
No, it doesn't.
Never works well for any politician.
No.
Never. Charlie Crist is doing it here, and he's taking the whole tack of he's embracing Biden. He's got an interview where I love Biden. He's amazing, and I'm sure Biden will be down here campaigning for him.
You know what?
He's the one politician
that's not even credible.
Yeah.
He is acting as if Charlie Crist, who's running for governor here in Florida, the Democrat running against Ron DeSantis. He used to be our governor years ago. He switched parties and became a Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay. He ran for Senate as an independent. He lost.
He's lost many elections. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody likes him.
Great job. Jeb Bush picked him to be his lieutenant governor. This guy, and he's picked a teachers union president in Florida to be his running mate, who's about as smart as Jean Pierre. Okay. She's no Christina Bobb. But I've seen Charlie Crist talking about his love of Biden. It's not even how could you love this guy?
I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to prove with this big love fest that he has for Biden.
You know what it is? I don't
get it.
I tell you what it is. He knows he's going to lose to Ron DeSantis. He's running against the greatest governor in the history of American governors, who's more popular than any governor. So when he loses, he wants to get appointed to some important job, like a cabinet position, an ambassadorship or something. He wants Biden to appoint him to some prestigious
he's kissing his ass.
Washington position when he loses to Ron DeSantis.
In Florida, we have, for the first time, more Republican registered voters than Democrat. And not by a little, by 200,000. Democrats used to outnumber us by 200,000. So I don't know, and now we outnumber them. So does that mean it's a shift of 400,000, or
exactly?
Is it all new people?
Well, it's a mix.
Moving
Republicans
here, or have people switch parties?
In Florida, we have gained 400,000 registered voters.
And
some of them have switched.
200.
Some of them have moved here.
Right.
Yeah.
So they see the writing on the wall and they know, but it's still very important to get out and vote and not be complacent and not think, well, we're way ahead. So, because I think they skew those polls to get you to stay home, to manipulate you for sure. And if you think your person, thank goodness Liz Cheney lost so badly.
That was beautiful.
You have to make your voice heard, because not only is important that your person wins, that the MAGA person wins.
Yeah.
But it's also important that they win by a lot.
That's right.
Because it really sends a powerful message.
Well, listen, we are all out of time for today, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
If you're looking for some fun t-shirts with a MAGA viewpoint, look no further than Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. They have funny Biden parody t-shirts, pro-Trump shirts, patriotic shirts, pro-Trump hats, and much, much more. Start shopping right now. Go to Etsy.com and search Parody Boss Designs. That's all one word on Etsy.com. Parody Boss Designs on Etsy.